It's 3 years later from where we last left off, and Jang Uk has become Daeho's newest legendary soul shifter hunter. Having come back with the ice stone inside him, Jang Uk can now effortlessly overpower any soul shifter, making him the most powerful mage. Spending his days chasing down soul shifters, at one point, Jang Uk ends up at Jinyowon with Dong-gu, who is now the leader of Songrim. Having his engagement with Cho-yeon broken off, Dong-gu is blocked at the gate of Jinyowon. They aren't letting anyone in anymore. As Cho-yeon and Dong-gu are distracted by an ex-couple's quarrel, Jang Uk sneaks into Jinyowon and accidentally gets trapped inside. While stuck inside a dungeon, Jang Uk unexpectedly meets the priestess, Jin Bu-Yeon. Though now with Nak-soo's original face, Jang Uk doesn't recognize who she is, as she has been hidden away and kept under her mother's control for the last 3 years. You see, when Bu-Yeon's body was pulled up out of the lake, Jin Ho-Gyeong begged Master Lee to save her life. The only way to do that was for the spirit inside Bu-Yeon's body to be Nak-soo's. However, Nak-soo didn't take over Bu-Yeon's body with the Alchemy of Souls like before. No, this time, her soul was actually locked up inside the body. Waking up with no memories, even Bu-Yeon herself doesn't know that she is actually Nak-soo. Hearing this, Jang Uk gives Bu-Yeon a way out by throwing plates at the wall, creating a ladder. Using this ladder later, once Jang Uk had already left Jinyowon, Bu-Yeon escaped. Finally outside for the first time, Bu-Yeon wants to learn more about the person her mother has arranged for her to marry, mistakenly assuming that Seo Yul is going to be her future husband. She hears about the 4 men who all the women want to marry: the Crown Prince, Dong-gu, Yul, and Jang Uk. Confronting Jang Uk and revealing her true identity, Bu-Yeon pleads with him to marry her for freedom. However, Jang Uk brushes her off. Despite being taken away by the Jinyowon guards again, Bu-Yeon waits for Jang Uk to show up and save her on her wedding day. Surprisingly, it turns out that Yul was not going to be Bu-Yeon's fiancé. It was in fact Youn-O, Yul's uncle. On the verge of losing hope on her wedding night, Bu-Yeon suddenly teleports to Jang Uk after dropping a petal. Deciding that she might be useful, Jang Uk pulls her out of the water. Walking back from the river, Bu-Yeon explains that she has no memory, and the only thing that she remembers is that she was sick and was cared for by her mother. Hearing her story, Jang Uk examines Bu-Yeon's eyes, but he doesn't find any trace of the soul shifter's mark. At Songrim, the mages are all shocked when the Jinyowon people show up, accusing them of taking Bu-Yeon, who, as you'll recall, they didn't even know was alive. Back at Jang Uk's house, he tests Bu-Yeon's supposedly amazing divine powers by challenging her to extinguish the Jinyowon lamp, but she can't. She has lost her powers. Realizing that without her powers, Bu-Yeon won't be of any help to him in removing the ice stone, Jang Uk tells her to leave. Bu-Yeon, desperate not to be locked up again and married off to some random guy, shows Jang Uk her tracker bracelet, which means she will be located by the Jinyowon guards soon. Bu-Yeon begs Jang Uk that she wants to stay and even claims that she likes him too. After breaking the tracker, Jang Uk tells her again to leave. However, when Bu-Yeon is attacked by a soul shifter, Jang Uk shows up and saves her, even staying with her through the night to make sure she is okay. Jang Uk decides to marry Bu-Yeon after she mentions that their marriage is only solidified if he drinks. The next day, Bu-Yeon encounters Yul, thinking he was her arranged husband, and tells him she won't marry him. Yul explains the mix-up over the surnames between him and his uncle, and also questions Bu-Yeon, wondering if they've met before since they were childhood friends. In the background, Jinmu has gone back to scheming, now suggesting that Bu-Yeon should be publicly declared the official heir to Jinyowon to stabilize the situation. Anxious and unsure, instead of a bracelet, when the Jinyowon guards drag Bu-Yeon back, Jin Ho-Gyeong sews the tracking thread into Bu-Yeon's neck before preparing her to be introduced as the heir of Jinyowon. However, while Bu-Yeon is gone, Jang Uk notices that Jinyowon's divine lamp has gone out, which happens as Bu-Yeon is introduced as the heir. And so, Jang Uk makes a dramatic entrance and reveals to the court that he and Bu-Yeon are married, much to everyone's surprise. After Jang Uk's announcement, the unanimous assembly is outraged by his lack of proper procedure and sends extra guards to confront him, but that's no problem for Jang Uk and his new powers. As for Dong-gu and Yul, Jang Uk's best friends, they know he has hardly gotten over the Nak-soo that he met as Mudok, so why was he marrying Bu-Yeon? With Jinyowon refusing to give their blessing, Jinmu decides to look into who exactly this new Bu-Yeon is. So, when Jin-Moo goes to Seo Yi, who is now the head of a gambling den, asking her to kidnap Bu-Yeon in exchange for the medicine she needs. Seo Yi manages to lure Nok-Soo to the gambling den, but Yul discovers her there first. Helping her out of the den, Yul explains to Bu-Yeon about Nok-Soo, Mudok, and how they are related to Jang Uk. Returning to Jin-Moo, Seo Yi explains to him how Bu-Yeon can sense energy, a crucial detail for Jin-Moo, who shares this information with the queen, desperate to switch bodies. Catching up with Jang Uk in the forest, Bu-Yeon comes carrying her magical stone. The combined energy of their magical stone triggers a memory flashback for Bu-Yeon. Fascinated by this memory, in which she, as Mudok, exchanged the yin and yang jade stones, Bu-Yeon describes them as bird eggs, just as Mudok had. Later, at the queen's banquet, thrown to distract everyone from the rumor that Nok-Soo has returned after a boat showed up with all of its crew murdered, Jang Uk is forced by the king to kill Nok-Soo, even though it wasn't Nok-Soo who did it. The queen's banquet was intentionally arranged to summon a soul shifter perceived as Nok-Soo, using that reason to kill Bu-Yeon and blame Jang Uk conveniently. Apparently, this is all part of Jin-Moo's new plan. If a soul shifter kills Bu-Yeon in front of everyone, people will naturally think it was Nok-Soo, and the blame will go to Jang Uk. This would cause Jang Uk and Jinyowon to become enemies, and Jinyowon's power would be shifted to Cheonbugwan. However, when fireworks go off, the soul shifter in their midst knocks Bu-Yeon out, making everyone think that the spirit of Nok-Soo killed Bu-Yeon. Luckily, Bu-Yeon is still alive, and Jang Uk kills the spirit, telling the royal family that he killed Nok-Soo, unaware, of course, that the actual spirit of Nok-Soo, the girl he fell for, is inside his new wife. Missing Mudok dearly, Jang Uk visits the cliff where Mudok had died and mourns for her, later finding himself being comforted by Bu-Yeon and eventually kissing her. While Jang Uk is trying to deal with his grief, Yul is desperate to find out why he has been in such pain ever since Seo Yi put the blood parasite in him to save his life. Going to talk to Seo Yi, she explains that the medicine was supposed to keep him alive. However, because he didn't trust Seo Yi, Yul hasn't been taking the medicine she has been giving him. Hearing how much pain he has been in, Seo Yi offers to let Yul put the parasite back into her own body, but it's too late. The blood worm has reached his energy core. Asking her to keep it a secret, Yul knows that he absolutely has to find some kind of solution before the blood parasite eats out all of his energy. At the same time, despite the tension, Bu-Yeon and Jang Uk are getting closer, especially as Bu-Yeon gets more of her memories back. When Bu-Yeon goes missing after complaining about having a headache, Jang Uk is concerned. Jang Uk finds Bu-Yeon and checks if she has a fever. Man's totally fallen for her. Is he going to be a simp? Haha, I'm just playing. Later, while at Jinyowon, Yul runs into Jang Uk and Bu-Yeon while he is looking for Seo Yi, who is currently being tortured by Jin Ho-Gyeong. However, when Yul eventually saves Seo Yi, she shocks him by telling him that Mudok, aka Nok-Soo, is inside Bu-Yeon. He knew there was something familiar about Bu-Yeon. Meanwhile, Yul's condition worsens over the next few days as he suffers from a high fever and intense pain. At the same time, escaping after giving Yul medicine, whom she is clearly in love with, Seo Yi is captured by Cheonbugwan mages. Elsewhere, Bu-Yeon has been planning a trip to see the tree at Danyanggok, and Yul decides to join her, which of course instantly makes Jang Uk super jealous. However, when Yul is told about what happened to Seo Yi, he ends up rushing off to Cheonbugwan. At the royal palace's den, Yul fights off the mages. But, as Yul's energy diminishes, the Cheonbugwan mage he is up against, named Yeom-Soo, realizes that he has the bloodworm inside him. Saved by Seo Yi at the last second, as Yul holds her, Seo Yi passes away. Just as Yul is also about to be killed, suddenly, Jang Uk arrives, promising the room of mages that none of them will make it out alive. Jang Uk annihilates the mages swiftly. He grabs Yeom-Soo by the throat and finds out about Yul's blood parasite. At Sejukwan, the infirmary, Yul's health is in grave danger. With the bloodworm so deep in his energy core, taking it out at this point would kill Yul. And if Yul passes away, it could even lead to a war between the kingdoms. Jang Uk, furious about what has happened to his friend, confronts Jin-Moo at Cheonbugwan directly. At the same time, Jin-Moo tries to rally the unanimous assembly to his cause, but when Jang Uk reaches Cheonbugwan, he is unstoppable. Even the crown prince intervenes, protecting Jang Uk from a barrage of arrows. After the fight and an intense negotiation, Jin Ho-Gyeong, who Jin-Moo threatened, agrees to help open Jinyowon and save Yul, but only if Bu-Yeon is sent back to her. With Yul's life in jeopardy and with a potential cure, Jang Uk leaves, but also promises that Jinmu will die if Yul dies. To save Yul, the firebird must be used as the blood parasite is like an insect, and birds are their greatest predator. This means that Jang Uk and the Crown Prince will enter Jinyowon together, using its energy to eventually remove the blood parasite. So, when Yul's remaining energy containing the blood parasite is extracted and placed into the orb, mistaking it as Yul's core energy, Bu-Yeon has to hold the orb in her mouth and head over to Jinyowon. While there, the Crown Prince slashes Bu-Yeon's wrist and takes out the parasite. Once Bu-Yeon moves the orb back into Yul's body, Yul is finally able to recover. At the same time, Jang Uk struggles with his feelings for Bu-Yeon, eventually going to see her and kissing her passionately. About time, hey. After their kiss, Jang Uk promises to be a good husband to Bu-Yeon and fully commits to the idea of marriage, hoping to retract the promise he made to Jin Ho-Gyeong earlier. Later, Bu-Yeon's memories of Mudok keep coming back, leaving her conflicted and confused. When Bu-Yeon went to Danyanggok, she actually met a younger version of the real Bu-Yeon, who warned her that she would need to leave the body soon. In fact, even Yul knows this, advising Jin Ho-Gyeong that if she wants her real daughter back, she should let her marry Jang Uk, because Naksu's soul will disappear soon. Feeling overwhelmed by all these new memories, Bu-Yeon decides to leave Jang Uk. Crying, Bu-Yeon explains that from the start, she had always liked him more, and so he should just let her go. Heartbroken as he watches Bu-Yeon go back to Jinyowon alone, Jang Uk decides to throw himself into becoming the general of the North Fortress, a job opportunity that Park Jin suggested he take. At the next unanimous assembly, Bu-Yeon, having remembered how evil Jinmu is, joins the other mages at the meeting. But tensions rise when Jinmu suggests that because Ho-Gyeong is losing the power that she once had, Jinyowon's spirit plaque should be removed. For context, the plaque allows Jinyowon to refuse the royal family's order, determined to prove that she is a worthy heir and that Jinyowon still has power. Bu-Yeon dares Jinmu to challenge her. Jinmu challenges her, and to prove her power, Bu-Yeon is tasked with finding the spirit plaque that has been thrown away and bringing it back within a day. Taking the Crown Prince's turtle with her, which they bonded over with, Bu-Yeon passes through the portal and follows the turtle up a beach and into the forests. In the forest, Bu-Yeon finds herself surrounded by wraiths. Reaching out towards a glowing orb, the wraiths start to come for her. Jang Uk then shows up, beating them away. Looking into her eyes, Jang Uk asks, "Those marks in your eyes, who are you?" To answer his question, Bu-Yeon tells Jang Uk that her soul belongs to someone else. But despite Jang Uk's probing, he struggles to piece together the full truth. When the Crown Prince arrives and questions what they're doing, Jang Uk quickly covers Bu-Yeon's marks. It turns out the Crown Prince is organizing a major attack on Jinmu's secret organization of soul shifters by gathering them at Cheonbu-gwan, seeking revenge after Jinmu got rid of his turtle. Finally, as more details emerge, Jang Uk starts to realize that Bu-Yeon, Mudok, and Naksu have all been the same person. Despite being determined to take out all of the soul shifters, Jang Uk can't help but wonder if it would be best to just stay with Bu-Yeon, the love of his life, in the portal. However, outside, Jinmu is putting together his plan to steal the Ice Stone and the Firebird, while Bu-Yeon, Jang Uk, and the Crown Prince are in the portal. Gathering his army, suddenly Jinmu finds himself surrounded by Songrim mages, including Park Jin. A massive fight breaks out at Cheonbu-gwan, where Jang Uk confronts Jinmu. Jang Uk creates a barrier to take on all 78 soul shifters at once, battling and killing them all. He questions Jinmu, the only non-soul shifter in the organization, asking why he would encourage others to become soul shifters. However, Jang Uk spares Jinmu, claiming that revenge is not his to take. It's for Bu-Yeon to decide. Seeing an illusion of the Ice Stone, Jinmu is deceived and reaches out for it, ultimately being led into the portal. There, he approaches the Ice Stone within the skeletal remains and seeks Bu-Yeon's help to absorb its power completely. Bu-Yeon reveals that the Ice Stone is empty and craves to consume energy, specifically, the energy of a soul shifter that has run wild. Bu-Yeon deceives him and lets Jinmu suffer slowly and die a horrific death. This is the revenge Naksu had long sought against Dunju. With Jinmu's energy being drained and the soul shifters destroyed, the royal family struggles with the fallout. especially as the queen is now trapped in her hideous body forever. As a result, the queen and Youn-O, who have been working with Jinmu, go through the portal and find Jinmu, holding on to the last bits of energy he has left. In a final twist, Jinmu switches souls with Youn-O, using the last soul ejector inside the blood of Shaman Choi's body, which kills the queen. With a brand new body, Jinmu escapes the portal and, waltzing into Cheonbugwan, presents himself to the king as the new Jinmu. The king and the unanimous assembly welcome him back. Unaware of what is going on at Cheonbugwan, Jang Uk and Bu-Yeon enjoy some peaceful time, even getting officially married. However, when the ice stone calls to Jang Uk, he suddenly sees an illusion of the firebird and a young Bu-Yeon, who explains that the bird is fated to bring destruction to the world. Jang Uk realizes that only he can prevent this impending catastrophe. Good thing he tied the knot with Bu-Yeon before the world ends, right? Meanwhile, Jinmu, now in his new body, is becoming more reckless and greedy, threatening Jin Ho-Gyeong and raiding Jinyowon to take the firebird. Attacked, Jinyowon starts to collapse as Jinmu removes the firebird. As the relics start escaping, Park Jin is faced with a dilemma. If he seals Jinyowon, he will be trapping Jin Ho-Gyeong and Maid Kim inside. With no other choice, Park Jin chooses to seal them inside. Taken back to Cheonbugwan, Park Jin is furious and fights off the corrupted mages, that is, until Jinmu starts to break the firebird's barrier. Trying to contain the firebird, Park Jin is stabbed by Jinmu and seemingly passes away. In a twist, despite initially thinking they were gone when Jang Uk returns, he eventually finds out that Jin Ho-Gyeong, Maid Kim, and Park Jin are not dead, but have been saved by Bu-Yeon and Master Lee, creating a portal into Jinyowon from Danhwangok before heading to Cheonbugwan and saving Park Jin. Storming into Cheonbugwan, where the Songrim mages are busy fighting off waves of enemies, Jang Uk stabs his sword into the ground and causes the whole assembly and Jinmu to burn to death. Jang Uk contains the firebird safely. Having traveled to the Constellation Basin, Bu-Yeon uses her returned powers and the flames to awaken the firebird. With the firebird awake, Jang Uk fights the bird using his powers, beating it and saving the world like a freaking boss. Returning to Daeho 1 year later, Maid Kim reveals to Park Jin that she's pregnant while caring for Choyeon and Donggu's 2 beautiful children, as the couple continues to thrive. Meanwhile, Yul takes charge of recruiting pupils at Jang-Guk, attracting many applicants by opening the doors to children of all backgrounds, regardless of status. Finally, Jang Uk and Bu-Yeon are living happily ever after.